Hi, I'm Maeve Doyle, and you're listening to A Private View. We're in Archway today at the studio of Charlotte Rose. Hi, Charlotte.
Hello.
I love your studio, you know I do, and I love that you live with your work, and your work is everywhere, and the bright colors and the nostalgic feelings that are emoted when I look at it. I guess if I were to start with a very open-ended question, I'd say to you, who are you and what do you do?
Well, I'm Charlotte Rose. I'm an artist and a model. I've been painting professionally for 5 years. And my mum is like a hobbyist artist. My dad's a pilot. I'm the first in my family as a woman to have a career. So that's something that I'm super proud of.
Chills.
And yeah, that's about it really. I love to paint.
But your career is remarkable because you do a lot of things. I know you work with brands, I know you paint, I know you do art exhibitions, I know you also model. So a little bit about your work ethic would be really interesting because you're certainly driven.
I think it's a necessity for me. I can't not. I feel a little bit like, what's the word, like itchy if I'm sat around and not doing anything. If I'm on holiday, I have to be like doing stuff, or I'm quite bad at putting down my phone and not replying to emails and stuff. But yeah, I always need to feel like a feeling of propulsion forward, you know. I need that, and I also feel like whenever I'm doing one thing, I need what's the word, like I need variety. I need to be doing multiple different things. Yeah.
To stay stimulated and to stay informed, and one thing informs another.
Exactly.
And the answers come through the work. So without it sounding cliche, you're almost process based.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And that solves the problem. Thinking about it, waiting for inspiration doesn't solve the problem.
No.
Working through it does.
Yeah, 100%.
And having seen your work for years now, I can see how you've worked through it and evolved.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, if we're to talk about the work, we're sitting in the studio and we've got Lucky Strikes, an American original. We have Unluckies, which is just part of your wit.
This one actually was one of my first paintings that I did. And then Unluckies, I mean, it's still in process, but it's like something that I'm working on at the moment. And it's inspired by Charles Bukowski. So I'm doing a body of work that's inspired by 20th century literature. So I've got Bukowski, Kurt Vonnegut, like Fight Club, kind of anything literature based that I feel like would really work with the theme of cigarette branding of the 20th century. So yeah, this one's a Bukowski one. I've done the rings as like coffee rings, like coffee stains, and to do a dangerous thing with style is from his poem Style, which was one of my favorite poems.
What did you study in school?
I studied literature. Well, at university I did literature and creative writing.
Yeah, it shows in the work.
Yeah, it's something that I know so much about. I did my exhibition, the Shakespeare Tobacco Company in 2023, and that's all Shakespearean works that tie in with the tobacco themes. But I wanted to be a novelist. That was like my whole plan, my whole childhood. I wanted to be a writer, and then I graduated, and it turns out I'm not very good at writing. I wasn't very good, but I think
trust me, I wanted to be a painter.
I'm sure you're brilliant. But yeah, it was one of those things where art found me, and it was just something that it made sense immediately, and the literature and that's still there, that interest is there, and I want to implement it into my work.
Well, it informs your work. It definitely does. Exactly. And I know that a lot of your collector base are from, well, they read a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
a lot of actors and writers,
a lot of creatives, but also a lot of like people that are completely different to my world, like bankers and businessmen and people that I have no idea anything about their world. So I kind of love that about it. I think literature is so universal and it touches so many people's lives, and it's so nostalgic for everyone. So it's interesting.
Connects everyone.
Exactly.
What's the interest in cigarettes? Trust me, I know what the interest is from my point of view. But what's the interest in cigarette boxes and cigarettes and
I think
smoking?
For me, it was I'm fascinated with branding. And I think the cigarette box for me is the most interesting example of branding, because it's something that people stay very loyal to throughout their whole life. It's something that people kind of like base their personality over, and it's also a cigarette box is something that stays on your person throughout your life. So it's in your pocket, it's carried with you. I have memories of my grandfather rolling up cigarettes and smoking pipes in his office, and that's like a staple memory of him. And I think people have this kind of anchor with specifically cigarettes and stuff. But also something that I'm really interested in is the 1960s, and that informs a lot of my fashion choices and my style, as well as like my interest in art. And I think that a lot of the cigarette branding really comes to life in the 60s and 70s, and that's like my favorite era for that. So a lot of the like Lucky Strike boxes that I'm painting, the Marlboro boxes that I'm painting, are branding from the 60s.
I don't know if I read this when I was reading up on you, but there is something of a Mad Men feel to a lot of what you do, which I like.
I love that show. I think it's amazing, yeah.
What else inspires you? We've got Mad Men, we've got books.
Yeah. I mean, I'm inspired by I'm inspired by other artists as well. I'm a massive fan of artists like Warhol, obviously, Ed Rushger, Harlan Miller. These are all artists that I really look up to and respect.
It's funny, I want to go back a bit about you being self-employed and working and what that means to you. Because there were times when I was working in galleries and they would say, we can't show women artists, there's no money in it. But you kind of made yourself desirable to galleries rather than the other way around.
I never waited for galleries to ask me. In fact, I did 3 indie shows where I raised the money by selling work on Instagram. And I was able to like negate the gatekeepers by using my social media to sell work straight to the collectors. And it just gave me complete freedom. And also I think as a woman, I feel like having like financial freedom is such a powerful thing. Like I said earlier, like I'm the first woman out of my family line to have a career and not rely on their husband to like for finances. And I think it's powerful. Yeah. It allows you complete freedom to live my life the way I want to, and yeah, it's cool.
And for the people who are listening who don't know Charlotte Rose, you're in your early 20s, aren't you?
I'm 26.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mid.
Almost late.
So someone said to me they thought your work was introspective and about connection. Could you comment on that?
I think so. For like I said, with the cigarette boxes being like an anchor, I want to always evoke this kind of nostalgic feeling and kind of connect to like the human, like what it means to be human and the things that people associate with memories and stuff. And I think the language that I explore that through is through branding, but it is all about the human experience and what we're connecting with people and memories and stuff like that.
Well, that's really Warholian anyway. I mean, that whole thing is super Warholian. I love the idea that you run your own businesses as a model, as a dressmaker, as a painter, as probably things I don't even know about, because you seem to have your hand in everything business-wise. I know you started a lot of it on Instagram, and you have an Instagram persona that's very fun and playful. Can you talk a little bit about doing business over Instagram? And I also want to know, would you give up your autonomy? Or do you like running the business yourself?
Oh no, I'm completely I need to have control of everything. I'm a control freak. Actually, I found that I like to oversee everything, but sometimes you have to let go because there's only so many hours in the day. So I've just got my new assistant Elijah, who is amazing, and I've had to kind of like relinquish some control and kind of let him make some creative decisions. And we've just started our brand. My work, I'm really interested in branding, but I've also created this idea of like Charlotte Rose, this brand, and it was intentional, and it is a kind of a character. It's not who I really consider myself, although I have said this before, like she's quite sexy, and I think that is a part of me. I feel like it's the kind of the part of me that is like the sexier part, but my day to day I'm kind of a bumbling idiot that's quite nerdy and insecure and human,
which is also sexy, by the way.
Yeah.
But I guess in a way it's like a persona artist. You've become a persona person on your Instagram to get things out. Is that possible?
Yeah. I think it is. There's a confidence, there's a kind of, like I said, sexiness, and there's also I think I'm really aware of like what people respond to. I want to be a powerful woman for the younger girls that look up to me, and I also want to be a sex symbol for the men that buy the art. Why not?
Why not?
Sex
I mean,
sells.
it didn't hurt Marilyn Monroe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I actually did a screen print, kind of self-portrait, which is behind us, called Voyeurgasm. And it's about the idea that sex sells but voyeurs buy. And it's like this idea that like this persona, this Charlotte Rose character is this like, sometimes I get a bit of stick for like using sex to sell my artwork. And I'm like, well, I'm going to lean into it if you think that. But yeah, no, I'm just enjoying myself. I like creating things. I have an interest in business, and I'm just doing the things that I enjoy.
I don't even know if this is... Why do you think sexuality freaks people out so much?
I don't know.
I don't know either,
I love
wouldn't
sex.
Yeah. I mean, the whole world is populated because of it.
Yeah, I know. And I think it's quite British for people to feel this way of like stifling that part of them. And I think I'm always the one, especially in my family, who is like so painfully British. I'm always the one that will say something really inappropriate at the dinner table, and everyone will just be like, oh, for fuck's sake. So I've never shied away from...
I want to be at that dinner party.
I've never been one to shy away from things that make people feel uncomfortable, or like, or just, you know, like being an artist, you need to explore what it is to be human, and I think that sex is so integral to that human experience.
Yeah, well, keep going, because I think so too, and I think it makes your Instagram fun, and it makes your work popular, and you get a lot of employment from it.
Yeah, so I do a lot of
and sponsorships.
I work with a lot of fashion brands. So I model. I've been a model since I was 18, and I'm signed in London, Paris, and Milan. So I do work with a lot of fashion houses, a lot of makeup brands, and it's all under the kind of umbrella of this like Charlotte Rose brand. So sometimes I've done like commissioned artworks for fashion houses like Longchamp. I'm about to do one for the denim brand 7 for All Mankind. So they're like, these fashion houses are really interested in me as a model, but also as a painter, and creating artworks for the brand, and kind of working that way, that into their advertising. And I really enjoy it because it works so perfectly with the style of artwork that I'm really interested in branding and advertising as an artist anyway, so why not implement it into the fashion stuff and make a bit of money?
Yeah, precisely, because that's what gives you freedom to keep painting another day.
Exactly, and that is the thing. It's I'm able to do these kind of other things that fund the artwork, that enables me to have more free time to paint and then sell the art, and then the one helps the other and the other helps, you know.
No, I can see why the brands would like it too. They want a model who does something as well. Like you have a body of work behind you, and a fashion brand, and I wonder, is there anything that you want to do that you haven't done yet?
There's 1,000 things I want to do.
Because I know you're going to Hong Kong on Monday.
Yeah.
For the art fair. I know you do the Dallas Art Fair. You've got collectors all around the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Congratulations on your museum acquisition.
Oh yes, yeah.
Tell me a bit about that.
So it's my first museum acquisition, and it's going to be in the Museum of Perth in Scotland. They're doing a summer exhibition on Scottish kings. So it's more of a museum about, rather than art, it's history, which is one of my, like, I'm obsessed with history. I always listen to history podcasts while I'm painting. So for me, it's like a huge honour. And it's the museum's doing an exhibition on all the historical kings of Scotland, and then also how the history of kings have reflected in artwork. So, for example, they've got a first edition Shakespeare's Macbeth, and in the same floor they've got one of my Macbeth paintings, and then they've also got all of the costumes from the Michael Fassbender Macbeth film. So it's like this kind of room full of art, that modern art, that's been in different forms, that's been reflected by and inspired by Scotch kings.
Really good.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Really good. Are you going up for the opening?
Yeah, I will be. I think it opens end of April, so something like the 27th of April. Yeah.
What does the rest of this year hold for you? Before I need you to tell me about your Marmite painting.
This year I'm working on, a million things. I want to create a body of work about 20th century literature and cigarettes branding. I want to create that. I'm painting in oil and acrylic for that, so kind of takes a bit longer. I also have a show in Texas, in Austin, with West Chelsea Contemporary Gallery, which is what I did last year as well.
Good.
And every month to month, I don't really know what it looks like, because as a model, you kind of get thrown into jobs like a week before they happen, so you don't really know what's going to happen. But
you have that kind of energy that would probably like the spontaneity of it.
Yeah, I think I have a bit of like an addict's mentality towards work, where I love like work that I don't know how much I'm going to earn. I don't know what's coming next. I kind of want that hit, you know?
It seems to have made you a very good business person.
Yeah. Well, I enjoy it. It's like every day is new, which is good.
I want to talk about Marmite. It seems to be...
So the Marmite...
It almost seems like a witty comment.
Yeah.
Should we go over?
Yeah, sure.
Hello, Marmite.
So this one...
On the comments.
Yeah, so this one was a kind of a fuck you to... I get a lot of hate on Instagram, but also a lot of love. And I feel like it's probably 10% hate, 90% love. And you always, as humans, we always pick out the stuff that is the most painful.
Hardwired for negativity. Yeah, it is true. But I also think if you put yourself out there...
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? I kind of embrace it, and I think it's hilarious. So I took my...
I think you have to.
Yeah, I'm just, you know what? I'm so arrogant. I'm just like, they're wrong. I don't pay any heed to it.
I think good self-belief.
Yeah.
They're wrong. And they are wrong.
But for this one, it's... I just collected some really nice comments and then some really hilariously awful comments. And just like Marmite, you either love it or you hate it. And so... it's just a comical little piece.
So some of them say Warhol did that 60 years ago. That would obviously be someone giving out to you.
My favourite one, which I made into a sticker, is degenerate art that doesn't enrich people's lives. And then this one that says, knock off Warhol garbage, but you look great, don't push it. So beautiful.
People are
so
lovely, aren't
eloquent.
They? Yeah. And then you go back and you find out the account has no posts and no picture of the person.
Although
they just go around.
Fair enough. It's, you know, people are entitled to their own opinions, and I completely love that that's a thing, and I want to reflect that in my art, and I don't really mind. And a lot of people like it as well. So.
I just saw "Well done, sweetheart,"
which I think is really condescending. Actually, I love it. But then there's some nice ones.
I'm too broke, but they fire.
Yeah, but they fire. I like that. And then there's it's Warholian, only hotter, which I think is quite nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a lot of my work is satirical, and I think this one is...
It's the novelist in you.
Yeah.
You found the right symbol for this conversation about people thinking that you want to hear their opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for giving me content. The people who buy it do they ever say anything? The people who buy your work, what kind of dialogue do you have with people who buy your work on Instagram?
I mean, my collectors are amazing. They're very loyal as well. So if I ever do, like I said, I just did like a load of hoodies and t-shirts. I was looking at the names of people that were buying, and I recognized a lot of them as people that buy my artwork. So I thought that was really beautiful. And I have a lot of conversations with them. And when I do my exhibitions, I usually put faces to names that I see all the time, which is really nice. And again, like if I tend to do an exhibition a year, and it's always the same faces coming every year, so it's beautiful. Yeah, it's good.
I mean, the best thing about branding is it did bring emotions into everything, and I think we've talked about Mad Men earlier, and smoking was originally sold to people as something as that was good for their health.
Yeah.
And the fact that this is Lucky's, an American original, Lucky Strike, there's a lot of content in there. This is the first one you made in this series?
Yeah, it was one of 3 of the first that I made, and it's I think for this one I was just kind of playing around with the idea of like that lie sold to the consumer that it was good for you, and it was kind of this thing that it was all American and it was part of your identity, and yeah, it was just this, but then the facade starts to crumble, and that's kind of what this one was meant to represent. And I started painting the cigarettes in lockdown, so it was 2020, and I quit smoking that year, so I was kind of just, it was clearly on my mind, the cigarette boxes.
I think I met you at that time.
Yeah, so you met me, my first like independent exhibition.
In Fitzrovia?
Yeah.
What was that space again?
NoHo Studios.
Yeah, it was terrific. And there was, you had about 20 canvases.
Yeah, so what that was I painted all of the cigarette boxes in lockdown. I pre-sold 4 of them over Instagram, and I was able to hold them for the show. With that money, which was about $4,000, that was all I had. That was it. That was all the money I had in my bank account, savings, that was it. I went to Mark, who owns NoHo, and I said, please, can I hire your space for a week? I've only got $4,000. And he said, well, the space is it's a lot more than that. But he I think he just liked my story, and I was just really headstrong, and I was like, yeah, no, I've got this really cool idea and it's going to be amazing. And so he let me hire it for the majorly discounted rate, put up all of the paintings, and I sold the entire show out. Yeah, it was good. It was pretty unbelievable, and the whole of the PR for it and everything was just through social media, so it was Instagram and TikTok. But yeah.
What was the title of that show?
That was Oh No Thanks, I Quit last week.
You've been listening to A Private View with me, Maeve Doyle, and Charlotte Rose. Charlotte Rose, I'm looking forward to seeing your work throughout the rest of the year. Anything coming up that I can visit?
The Perth Museum in Scotland is doing the Scottish Kings exhibition, and I've got one piece in there. And the WCC in Austin, Texas in October.
Thank you, Charlotte, for showing us around your studio today.
Thank you so much.